Have you ever wondered what constitutes landlord harassment? This is a question many of us might have asked ourselves at some point. Landlord harassment is when a landlord creates unpleasant or unbearable living conditions with the intent to force a tenant to abandon their lease, give up rights, or pressure them into accepting unfair rent increases. There are some common misconceptions about landlord harassment. It's not just about loud noises at odd hours or unplanned visits. It can be subtler, like refusing to perform necessary repairs or pushing for unwarranted eviction. Laws exist to protect tenants from these unwelcome behaviors. For example, many states have regulations that prohibit landlords from using their power to intimidate, threaten, or disrupt tenants' peace and quiet. So landlord harassment is not just about being a bad landlord, it's about crossing the line into illegal behavior. Now that we have an understanding of what landlord harassment is, let's move on to some real-life cases. To better illustrate what landlord harassment looks like, consider these real-life scenarios. First, imagine a tenant who finds her landlord inside her apartment unannounced and without permission. This is not a one-time incident, but a recurring invasion of her privacy. The landlord brushes it off as a simple checkup, but the law is clear. Unless it's an emergency or the tenant has given permission, the landlord has no right to enter the property. This is a clear case of harassment violating the tenant's right to quiet enjoyment of her home. Next, consider a tenant living with a leaky ceiling and faulty heating. Despite countless requests for repairs, the landlord turns a deaf ear, hoping that the discomfort will eventually drive the tenant out. This neglect of necessary repairs is yet another form of landlord harassment. Lastly, let's talk about a tenant who is slapped with an exorbitant rent increase. The landlord justifies it as a standard annual hike, but the amount is far beyond what is reasonable or legal. This unjustifiable rent increase is a coercive tactic used by some landlords to force tenants out. These cases provide insight into the different forms of landlord harassment. So, we've discussed the meaning of landlord harassment and some real-life cases. What should we take away from this? Landlord harassment is essentially any act that deliberately makes a tenant's life difficult, with real-life cases ranging from invasion of privacy to intentional property neglect. Legal protections exist to safeguard tenants from such behavior. It's crucial to recognize these signs and understand your rights. Remember, knowing your rights as a tenant is the first step in protecting yourself from landlord harassment. Stay informed and stay safe.